Welcome back. Today we are talking with a relationship counselor about what to do when you're in an argument with someone and just can't seem to come to a resolution. We welcome back David Flowers, a licensed professional counselor, to talk about some advice that you have. Good to see you.
Good to see you. It's good to be back.
Yes, so okay. It's a classic scenario, really. You have two people arguing. How do you know who needs to change in an argument? A lot of people don't want to give up ground. Let's talk about this.
Well, everybody loves to change, as you know.
Right.
Right. So that's a tricky one. You know, how do you know who needs to change in an argument? So the answer that I give, it sounds pretty simple, but obviously it's harder than how it sounds. The answer to who needs to change is the person who can.
Okay.
The person who can.
Well, and you hear the word change.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that exactly when you say you need to change in an argument?
Yeah. Good question. So when I'm talking about the person who can, first of all, right, the person who can change is the person who is speaking or behaving, right? Because the person who's feeling in that moment, feelings aren't nearly as changeable, at least not nearly as quickly as words and behaviors, right?
Sure.
So when I'm talking about changing, I mean who is the person who needs to find themselves in this place where they say, all right, I've got to honor the fact that my partner's feeling a certain way, and I've got to understand there's no arguing with how somebody's feeling, and that can be her or it can be him.
Sure. So give us an example then of how someone can change their behavior.
Right. Well, so let's say that maybe she approaches him and she says, hey, you know, we were at that party last night and you told that joke in mixed company that was a little bit edgy. I ended up feeling really embarrassed about that. That was really hard for me. Well, he could come back to her and say, well, you're too sensitive, right? So he could make a comment. He could express his opinion on her feelings, or he could just acknowledge the fact that that's what it felt like for her, and really he's the behavior in that situation.
Invalidate how the other person is feeling.
Right, exactly. And of course it works the other way around as well. You know, if he comes home from work and he says, wow, I had a really rough day today. It was hard. There's this guy at work and he's talking about it. And she says something like, wow, you know, maybe you should just concentrate on earning a paycheck, right? It's like, well, no, he's just talking about where he's at and what's going on for him. So she just needs to be able to hear it and kind of get on his team a little bit.
Everyone wants to be heard. So with that said, though, it sounds easy on paper.
Totally.
What do you do then if you're frustrated and no one wants to budge? What's your advice on that?
If you're frustrated, you know what? That's a great question. That's a great question, because the answer, honestly, is if no one wants to budge, I guess you're stuck.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's the answer.
It takes effort.
Right?
It takes effort.
Absolutely.
And then, finally here you say relationships require balance. Can you expand on that?
Relationships require balance. Yeah. I mean, it's going to have to be a trade-off.
It can't always be a one-side thing.
Well, yeah, exactly. Okay, so the idea there is that you don't want to end up in a situation where there's only one partner who's frequently saying, hey, this bothered me, this upset me, this embarrassed me, or whatever, right? And so sometimes there's a partner in the relationship who tends to kind of back out all the time. It doesn't really articulate anything. That person, sometimes it's the female, sometimes it's the male, but those folks have to step up a little bit more.
Communication is key.
Yeah, absolutely, as always.
And as you've heard the expression, relationships are work too.
They are work.
You got to work at it. Let's show information for how you can get in touch with David. We appreciate your advice as always. There's the website, davidflowerstherapy.com. Great to see you.
Thanks, man. Good to see you.